is now time to introduce our final nominee. This is a person who is one of those quiet, stealth forces in the newsroom who seems to know everything, and you can absolutely count on to help you. And that not only goes in the NBC newsroom, but of course also with the great work that she's done with NATAS. To introduce MaryEllen Eagleston is Michael Fouch, Director of Technology at NBC7 and Telemundo 20 here in San Diego. Mike was awarded the San Diego Southwestern Emmy in 1998 and 99 for technical direction and was inducted himself into the Silver Circle in 2018. Mike has the pleasure of introducing you to our final honoree this afternoon, MaryEllen Eagleston.
Thank you, Artie. All right, you'll all be happy to know that since I am in technology and engineering, succinct and to the point, so I'll try to get through this as well as I can. So, let me sit there though and start by saying I do have the honor of introducing MaryEllen to the Silver Circle community, not just for myself though, but also for Don Johnson and Marianne Bates, who MaryEllen has worked with over the years at KPBS and through NATAS. And so we've got three people coming from one. So thank you, Don, and thank you, Marianne, for letting me speak on your behalf. I'll start with Don Johnson first. So what hasn't MaryEllen done or worked on for NATAS National, our regional Pacific Southwest chapter, and at television stations around town for her many years in the San Diego area? First off, here we go. Starting at KPBS, she started working on the weekly local show called Seniors Speak Out. There she was a PA, then moved up to associate producer, eventually producing 4 episodes for the weekly live-to-tape show. One of her first jobs was to do a carriage report by contacting PBS stations around the country and finding out if they were airing the show, and if not, well, why not? Why aren't you carrying our show? Production being in her blood, she quickly moved into KPBS's master control, becoming the tape librarian. You all remember tape, I assume, right? Then moving into more production areas, she would look and see what was needed at the station and where she could help. First off, there was a need to start organizing production graphics. She was a great asset working on the various Chyron units of the day. Naturally in production, when someone was out sick, MaryEllen would be the first one to sit there and offer to help and would fill in as needed. Then came technical directing and then directing local shows. In 1997, the station moved to a new building. She did all of the coordinating and organized the thousands of tapes and got them moved to the new facility. During this time, MaryEllen was also volunteering with NATAS, specifically with the Emmy Awards show that was put on each year. She first started out as the recorder, beginning in 1998 through 96. And as you may know, the recorder's job is to keep track of all the Emmy statuettes and make sure that each recipient has signed for their award. You don't want a statue just to sit there and walk off, because those statues, folks, as you know, aren't cheap. One of the stories that comes to mind, and this is Don's story, right, from 1995, is when 3/4 of the statues that were shipped for the event arrived broken, as they were shipped in eco-friendly packaging. At a moment's notice, though, MaryEllen coordinated the remaining good statues to be rotated on stage. It looked like new statues were being awarded. Then when people would walk off the stage, they'd grab the statue from them and take it back and recycle it. Thinking on her feet, right? Fantastic. MaryEllen worked as the associate producer for Paul Marshall, who she knew from KPBS, as he produced a show held at the Lyceum Theater. And after that, she started line producing the Emmy Gala from about 1997. She then co-produced the show with Suzanne Bartol. Then it was working as the awards chair for the Emmys and being the executive producer for the show. Now, if being busy at the local level wasn't enough, MaryEllen decided, hey, let's take it national. So she was off to the national NATAS in New York, first being our local chapter trustee from 2012 to 2016. Then she was elected as the national secretary from 2016 through 2018. Then returning to being the chapter trustee from 2018 to 2020. But wait, there's more. She has also served on the National Bylaws and Audit Committee, serving the greater good of NATAS, along with outstanding work for our local Pacific Southwest chapter. She is one who doesn't even blink when it comes to trying to do an 80-hour work week. So now, that was from Don, so thank you, Don, for those kind words. Now let me transition. I'm going to go down to Marianne Bates. and her relationship with MaryEllen and her time with NATAS in the Pacific Southwest chapter, and also MaryEllen's considerable charitable work that she's done. MaryEllen has been part of NATAS Pacific Southwest family since 1988, and what an impact she's made. Over the years, she's worn just about every hat there is: awards chair, national trustee, Emmy Awards producer, assistant director, co-chair. Whatever the title, MaryEllen's leadership and dedication have always stood out. If there was a job to be done, MaryEllen didn't just raise her hand. She was probably already halfway through doing it. Since 1997, she's been the driving force behind the Emmy Awards crew, working side by side with the awards director to bring together an incredible team of volunteers each year. And thanks to her creativity and care, the show has stayed top quality and professional, all while keeping things running efficiently, and in my new role, I really appreciate this, on budget. She's also led the chapter itself, serving as both president and vice president. During her time as president, she helped establish the chapter's 501c3 foundation, which has funded our student scholarship since 2009. She also helped bring the organization into the modern era, transitioning the Emmy entry and membership system from piles of paperwork to an easy online process. Her hard work and dedication has not gone unnoticed. MaryEllen is a 6-time Emmy Award winner with 13 nominations and only one of 13 people in our chapter's history to receive the Governor's Award, a rare and well-deserved honor. MaryEllen's dedication extends far beyond television. For 20 years, she has been an active member both in the Junior League of San Diego, serving in roles from treasurer to PR chair, and even rolling up her sleeves for the rummage sale and encore committees. She truly believes in giving back, whether it's through her time, her talents, or her boundless enthusiasm. After decades of service, MaryEllen recently stepped down from the NATAS board, not because she's slowing down though, but because she's finally taking a well-earned moment to relax, recharge, and see what adventures come next. And if we know MaryEllen, there will definitely be adventures to come. Okay, now transitioning to myself. So here we go. Good afternoon. My name is Michael Fouch. I'm the Director of Technology here at KNSD and KUAN here in San Diego, and I have the pleasure of introducing you to the MaryEllen that I know. And that's from the years that we both worked together at KUSI and at KNSD. MaryEllen and I met in 1996 at KUSI. We were both working on the 3-hour early morning show and also working in master control. It was during this time at KUSI that I was introduced to one of MaryEllen's most iconic traits, in my humble opinion, and that's her laugh. If you've heard it, you won't ever forget it. It's one of the best laughs out there. It's a very distinctive and charismatic laugh that you can't help but smile when you hear it. I believe it was because of her laugh that she and I began interacting more on a friendship level rather than just on a professional level. That and all the fun that we had trying to keep Master Control running with that awful M2 commercial playback machine. After about a year at KUSI, I moved back to my old stomping grounds, where I currently am at KNSD, to work in Master Control and sign on and sign off. And if you're a Silver Circle Award member, you know what that meant. In 1997, our production manager at the time, Randy Michler, made a great decision and hired MaryEllen to work in KNSD's operations department. I think I found out about her hiring, though, because I think I was in Master Control and I heard that laugh coming from down the hall. And I said, I know that laugh, and sure enough, it was MaryEllen. During her time at KNSD, MaryEllen established herself as one of the premier, sorry, my phone just jumped on me. Give me 1 second. As one of the premier experts in running our graphics for newscasts. She started running Chyron, then went to Deko, then went back to Chyron, and now it's with Expression. She's also very interested in politics, so now you combine that interest with her expertise in graphics, and she quickly became our go-to person for every election since the late 90s. To this day, MaryEllen makes sure that all the candidates' headshots are correct, all their professional titles are accurate, and she now helps do this in both English and Spanish for both KNSD now and KUAN. And of course, can't forget her primary role is one of our rock star APC operators for the morning shift at KNSD. MaryEllen's efforts across the industry make her truly worthy of being inducted into the Silver Circle, and speaking for Dawn, Marianne, and myself, we would like to say congratulations, MaryEllen.
Okay, I have to do this down to the Marcella level too because I'm not tall enough. Thank you, Mike, for that, and I'll try and be as succinct as I can be as well, since I do work in the operations department, and that's what we keep is time. I want to thank Mike, and I want to thank Marianne, and I want to thank Dawn for those kind words that you gave in introducing me. And I'd also like to congratulate everybody here that's an inductee. I'm really proud to be in this class, and I'm glad to be a part of the Silver Circle. Some people would ask me, how did a girl from a small town in Illinois end up in San Diego? I came from a town of about 1,600 people, just north of the big city of Peoria. Everybody knows everybody else in town, so I knew probably everybody that was there. My dentist, Dr. John Reel, once said to me when I was in his chair, he said, "MaryEllen, if you ever move as far away as San Diego, California, you're going to have to tell them that your filling has no barium, so it will look like a cavity on an x-ray." And why is that important? Well, John Reel is the father of Mike Reel. Mike Reel, who was teaching at UCSD at the time, and then he moved to San Diego State. He taught in the TCFM department for probably close to 20 years. And so when I moved to San Diego, I was working next door at the Sea Lodge Hotel with Alan Russell, Laura Russell, and my sister Alice Ann. But I wanted to get into television, so I gave Mike a call. Mike invited me out to San Diego State, and he, Don Wiley, and myself had lunch in the faculty staff dining room. Mike sent me on one path, Don sent me on the other path. Don sent me to David Bramfman, who was the legal chair of our chapter. David, in turn, sent me to Jonathan Dunrankin, and anybody who's been in the chapter for a long time knows Jonathan Dunrankin. Jonathan said, "Well, come and be on the Emmy committee." And that is where I met Randy Michler and Rory Devine. Mike sent me a different way. He sent me to Hope Shawat City, which led me to an internship at KPBS, which led me back to San Diego State for the MFA department, for an MFA program, and then another student assistant job at KPBS, and then transitioning into an actual job at KPBS. From KPBS, I went to KUSI, sometimes working 2 stations at the same time. And after 3 years at KUSI, I went to KNSD, and where I've been for the last 28 years. And I really want to thank Randy Michler for remembering me from the Emmy committee and going ahead and hiring me. I want to tell a little story about my Secret Service incident, and I think Mike is the only person in this room that probably knows about that. At the 1996 Republican Convention, KUSI had a remote shot down at the island where the Rady Shell Center is, and we were broadcasting live, all the newscasts. So we get down there really early in the morning, and it's dark in the morning, and then you have the lights come on in the morning. We're 2 minutes prior to air. The lights are on, lights attract bugs. A huge bug about this size with big wingspan landed right here on my shirt. It was buzzing, it was flapping, it was making a lot of sound, and I hate bugs, so I started screaming. 5 Secret Service agents left the convention center, headed over towards the island, 4 that were already on the island, 1 that fell out of a porta potty because he was trying to get up and get to me when he heard me screaming. Now we're less than a minute from air. The anchors are all laughing. We had a little go around where the open would come up and then everybody would talk about what story they were going to say. The last person to talk was Laura Buxton, and thank God, because all the Secret Service men were there by that time. And Laura said, "Well, we're all laughing because MaryEllen had a bug the size of a helicopter land on her. And it was right here. And everybody was laughing because none of my male counterparts wanted to swat it off." Until Ron Sherrick decided he was man enough to do it, and it took 2 swats to get that stupid thing off. And I hope that there's no I don't have a file on me at the Secret Service. Anyways, so I want to say thanks to a lot of people here because I know we're short on time. I want to thank, again, like I said, Randy Michler for hiring me, from remembering me from the Emmy Awards Committee because it did take a while. And I had applied at KNSD before, and I still have my letter from Rick Schwartz saying thanks, but no thanks. I also want to thank two people that aren't here with us any longer. I want to thank Sherry Lou Blower. I think of her every single day. I loved her wit, and I loved her paper wads. I didn't get as many paper wads, though, as one person got thrown at them. We have a producer at the station that saved all the paper wads and made a Christmas tree one year out of all the paper wads and gave it to Sherry Lou. So I miss her every day. I also miss John Barney, and he had said to me, MaryEllen, I always feel secure in leaving the station with you when I go to lunch on weekends, because on weekends there's like nobody staffing there. So I want to give a thanks to them. I want to give thanks to Mike Reel, who started me on this path, and then he really followed up with me. Even when he left San Diego State and went to Ohio and then went to Canada to teach, whenever he was in town, or sometimes he'd just drop me an email and say, hey, how you're doing? So I really appreciate Mike Reel. Hope Shaw told me that I had the personality for KNSD, and that's where I would probably end up, and I did. I want to thank Kathy Clark and Sue Strom, who were former presidents of this chapter, and who were two great female role models for me when I started out, and a lot of times when I'd have questions about the chapter, they would go ahead and answer them for me and help me along. I also want to thank everybody on the AM shift. It is a tough one, but we make it work. And Tiki, Luann, and Jason, thank you so much for humoring me and letting me sing while we're in the control room. I know Luann's going, no way. But I try to lighten the mood, and thank you for humoring me with that. I'd also like to thank the talent. They know when to listen to me, because I will always say, I have something important to say. Right, Stephen? Yes, that's your cue to listen. I want to thank Frank Castillo, Jeff Lyons, and Jonah Kuttner for letting me take so many notes while patiently training me in master control. Frank is like, she's taking notes again. Oh my God, did she not get it? And I'm like, no, I'm just, brushing up on the notes. I want to thank Mary Ann Bates, my co-chair with the Emmy Awards for the last 2 years. I think we had a lot of fun. And we just, sometimes late nights when you're trying to do a seating chart, you get punch drunk and you're just like laughing hysterically. I want to thank Carrie Briggs. Carrie, yep, here's Carrie. Carrie, most of you don't know this, but a lot of the invitations over the years for Silver Circle and for the Emmy Awards and for like sometimes the little cards, Carrie would design those, and she always did a perfect job. She also designed the Emmy Award crew T-shirts, and I always depended on Carrie because I know she had just a beautiful eye. I want to also thank Kristen and Frank, Dawn and Pandora, and Maria Villanueva, who is not here, and her husband Jamie. For the last 10 years, they've really been the backbone of the Emmys, making sure that everything gets done. If there's ever a question or ever anything that needs to get done, they were the people to go to, and they would always make it work. And they gave freely of their time. They're not paid. So thank you, guys. I want to thank Rory for this beautiful venue. Thank you so much, Rory. I love everything that you do. Thank you for being my friend. I also want to thank the leadership at NBC. I appreciate Missy and Greg for being here, for showing their support, and for always showing their support. For the employees, it really means a lot. And thank you, Phyllis, because you're here too, as well as being the former general manager. So I really appreciate your support. I appreciate the support of Sammy, Mike, and Ricardo. in the operations and technology and engineering department, for always having my back and to be giving me good guidance throughout my career. I want to tell a story about Sammy once. Because before APC, before you hit spacebar, 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 or steppity, 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 as I say when I'm directing, you had to work in tandem with the director. And we see a lot of stuff that comes across the screen. It's not all great stuff. But I'm okay with that. I've kind of, gotten into the flow that I can deal with this, whatever I'm going to see. Well, one day I couldn't look at Sammy the entire show because she had a nosebleed. And for people that don't know this, I'm not really good with blood up close. So Sammy's like, don't look, don't look, don't look. And I'm like, I just got to concentrate. I really felt like I was going to pass out. But I just was like, got to concentrate. And she kept saying to me, don't look at me, don't look at me. When, in the control room, it used to be the director and the TD looking at each other all the time. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And that is like one memory that always sticks out in my head. Another memory that sticks out in my head too down at NBC is when we were downtown and the anchors used to have two people here and in between them was a fountain. And this goes in the category of you can only believe this if you see it. We had a gentleman pour an entire box of Mr. Bubble into the fountain and then get in that fountain and take a bath. Glad we've moved back up to Kearny Mesa. I'd like to thank Jerry McCormick. He is my work husband, but we have a kind of a polygamous relationship because his other work wife is Blanche, Donna M. Stewart over here. Thank you, Jerry. I always appreciated your calmness in the control room. I'd like to thank the executive committee team that we were in place when I was president. That's Suzanne Bartol, Dan Eaton, Don Johnson, and Jeannie Scott. We had a very cohesive team. We worked really well together. The foundation was founded while I was president, and Suzanne was the first person in charge of the foundation. And the foundation is what runs the Silver Circle and what runs the scholarships for everybody. So thank you to the exec team. And then, I want to thank my family my two sisters for being here. I can't forget them. And I'm looking at the camera like Kent said. I want to thank my brothers who are out there, John and Jim. They couldn't be here. Jim is 7 years younger than I am, but he retired from his PBS job 2 years ago. What am I doing wrong? I live in California, higher cost of living. I also want to thank my California family, Laura and Alan Russell, who make sure that I have a place at Thanksgiving and Christmas when I can't go home. And lastly, I want to thank everybody that I ever roped into an Emmy video, a VO for the Emmys, to be a presenter, Marcella, or to serve on the committee or be a board member. I thank you all, and have a good evening.